and welcome to the Core Connection. Happy New Year. I'm Mira Rubin, and today's topic is having. So it's a new year, and so many of us are looking to be able to generate abundance. So that's what we're going to be talking about, and maybe the mechanics of abundance. So before we get started, let's just take a minute or two to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together, vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, the motion, the tickling and tingling when you stop, and allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables us to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And again, this is the beginning of a new year. And typically in these beginnings, we look at what we would like to create in the coming year. And I want to share with you a book that I just started reading while listening to, and it's called The Having. I'm looking up the full title for you as we speak. It is The Having, The Secret Art of Feeling and Growing Rich. And I want to talk about it because it really is a conversation about manifesting. And it is a conversation about creating and the mechanisms of that creating. How does it work? And if we think about how things come to fruition, we think about them first, typically, right? When we're dreaming a dream, or we're thinking about what we want to do, or we're conceptualizing business, it's coming from this place of concept and thought. However, we often ignore the importance of emotion in our generation of the material desire that we're looking to manifest. So it's emotion, energy in motion, that catalyzes or activates and is the energy behind our manifestation. So in this book, and I'm not that far into it yet, but it's pretty interesting. It's talking about experiencing having, and specifically, even she went into detail about even if you only have $1 in the bank, for example, to be recognizing your surroundings as representations of that abundance and of the money that it took to generate that abundance, or to have those things. It came from money and or gifts. At some point there was an exchange, and to be present to and in the experience of that abundance. And one of the key things that I found fascinating, and this is again just at the beginning of the book, but I figured it's a timely conversation for the new year as we're all looking at what we want to generate in the coming year, uh, was that it's experiencing the having when we spend money. So it's the beginning of a month. A lot of us have bills to pay. And rather than feeling the stress of all those bills pulling on us and looking at what we don't have, what we can do is be in the having, the abundance of being able to pay whatever we can, whether we can pay the whole bill or not pay the whole bill, to be in the experience and appreciation for the fact that we're able to be where we are, that we're able to pay what we can, that we're able to enjoy a cup of coffee or tea or water for that matter, to be able to be enjoying the ever-present abundance and embracing that. So I recently had a conversation with someone who said, yes, I've created all this abundance in my life, but not money. And I think that the separation of abundance and money, in a way, denies the abundance and maybe pushes away the money. It's very interesting in this book, and I'm not sure what my opinions are about the whole thing at this point, but I'm open and entertaining and being in the having since I started reading it. But to be in the having when we're spending money is to be appreciating and affirming the abundance that we have. So rather than regretting a purchase or complaining about bills, to be enjoying the fact that we're able to pay for these things, that we have the opportunity to choose about these things. And I recognize that not all of us are in a place to be covering all our bills. And yet, there is abundance that we can affirm in our lives. And if we can be in that abundance, apparently, and this isn't news to most of us, what that will do is create a field that attracts more abundance. And it's a very interesting story. It's a woman who has a Wharton degree. I haven't investigated or validated or verified any of this, but according to the story, she has a Wharton degree, and she meets a wealth guru who became a guru at the age of 6. If you look at the book, the description of the book, you'll see all of this. And this woman actually collected data on something like 100,000 people, and maybe it was 100,000 wealthy people, to look at what was consistent. And a big among the people that were what she called real rich people. And those are not just people who have a bunch of money, but who experience being abundant, being wealthy. And she says that this practice of having works pretty quickly, anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 months that you would see results. Now, the thing is that when we're in a space of having, it's kind of tuning ourselves to a different field so that we're inviting and we're tuning ourselves to recognize and be receptive to opportunities, and they can arise from who knows where. So being in the having is also being in the present and savoring. So here's the thing, whether it works or not, it makes for a much more joyful experience of life. And just in that respect, it works. And that's a payback of its own, whether or not it turns into wealth. And it makes sense to me that it will, that it can, as we experience our wealth, as we start defining ourselves as wealthy. And so many of us look at what's missing, at what's not there, rather than reveling in what is there. And this is an invitation to steep ourselves even more deeply in the enjoyment, appreciation, savoring of what is there. In other words, the blessings, and in a wholehearted way. And recognizing that when we're paying a bill, that there's an abundance there that we have in order to do that. And affirming that rather than resenting it or finding upset around that expenditure. And when we're buying something, to buy it in a way that we're delighted by it. Even groceries, maybe especially groceries, to be able to go and have food that can nourish us, to be, that's amazing. I remember, well, for myself, when I go and get a pile of vegetables and bring them home, and have a fridge brimming with all these wonderful foods, feeling the joy and appreciation and the abundance of that. It's simple things, but affirming that state, creating that energetic field. And it is an energetic field. Our perceptions are a projection, and we create this field of energy and potential and possibility around us largely through not just our thoughts, but our emotions. And so this is another reason why it's very important to be aware of our being state, because our being state is determining what we're being into. So in a juxtaposition, if we have scarcity, if we're in the having of scarcity rather than the having of the expansive having, what happens when you think of scarcity? There's constriction, there's contraction. When we think about not enough, rather than looking at our abundance. And it's not a denial, because there is the having. In order to spend money, there's the having. And at whether it was our own having, whether we had the money to buy those things that we were given or not, at some point there was an exchange that occurred, and there's an abundance. So as we're present to that abundance, first of all, you can feel the difference. I used to think that this whole energy conversation was woo-woo or metaphorical or and imaginary even. But if you feel into the experience of abundance, or you feel into the experience of scarcity, it's a very different physiological, energetic experience. Our own energy is affected by it in a radical way. When we're afraid, we're constricted, we're tight, we shrink. When we're joyful, we're expansive, we're open. We can feel the difference in our body. And so that is energy. That is energy. And we have the ability to direct that energy. We have the ability to channel that energy. We also have the ability to access it in any moment. So this is the blessing and the rub, I guess, is that in any moment we can shift our emotions. And what happens is we get tied into a certain pattern of thought, like a runaway train. And what happens as a result of that pattern of thought is there's an associated pattern of emotion. And not only is there an associated pattern of emotion, but that emotion then creates a pattern of physiology as well. And so each of these things feeds the other, which feeds the momentum of the train. And so when it's like the downward spiral or the upward spiral. And we can generate either one at any moment. It's just that as the momentum of the downward spiral accelerates, it makes it harder to turn that train around. It takes it takes a greater act of will to turn it around. But we can do it. It just takes greater intention and dedication. So this is a practice. It's actually a practice. It's not necessarily something that just happens. It's something that we can get more skilled at by directing our attention. And even in the face of, here's a bill, I don't have, for example, if I didn't have the money to pay that bill in this moment, we get to still affirm that we're going to figure it out. One way or another, we're going to get it figured out. And to be finding and experiencing the abundance that exists in addition to the bill. It's available to us. It's available to us at any moment. So this has just been coming up so often with people lately. That it's the same glass that is half empty that is half full. It's the same glass. And we can relate to that glass. We have choice about it. And recognizing that we are not a victim of the glass, that we actually have the opportunity to shift our perspective, to shift our emotions, to shift our interpretation of that glass is really the key to stewarding our lives. And we are the stewards of our lives. We can give that or create the illusion that we are not. We can create the experience that we're not the stewards of our lives. We can create the experience of victimhood, or we can create the experience of creatorship and agency. And that's really it, with this notion of having, that it's very, very interesting. And I don't know where I am about this or not, but in the book called The Having, if you just tuned in, the author talks about this money guru person saying that everybody has the capacity, has a cup that will hold $3 to $7 million, like that's available to everybody. And that most people don't even exercise 20% of their capacity. And that beyond that, there are others who have bigger cups that have even greater capacity. So it's an interesting idea. It's an interesting thought. And I recommend checking out the book. It's a worthy experiment. And at the very least, we get to feel better on our way to wherever we're headed by experiencing the abundance of our lives, regardless of our situation. There's always abundance to find. And that abundance breeds more abundance. So why not start off the new year with a new practice around having and enjoying and appreciating the gifts of this moment. Even if we don't know where we're going to be tomorrow, we can say, today I'm here. Today, there's goodness in this moment. However desperate that moment might be, there's goodness in this moment. And so I invite us all to step into that practice of recognizing the goodness in this moment, that we can then allow the universe to support us in multiplying it. So that's it for today. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. And I invite you to please like, follow, and share Enlightened World and me. The links are in the description. I'm here each weekday morning from 9 to 9:30 or 9:30-ish a.m. Eastern. And it's always a tremendous privilege to have the opportunity to be with you and muse over what it is to be human. So